What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Just want to welcome you to another episode of This Brother Talks, where we come to you every Monday at 7:30 Central Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern. Just basically telling you and talking to you about my point of view and on sports topics, and a few things here and there. This week we got a lot to catch up on. Last week was kind of interesting, and so this week we're gonna start out. We're gonna start out, just talking about the NBA All-Star Weekend. So NBA All-Star Weekend came this past weekend. They did everything in one day, which was Sunday. I didn't get to catch everything because I was a little bit busy. I was working, but I missed the skills competition. But I went back and watched the 3-point contest, which that was the most interesting thing to me. The guys really put on a shooting clinic, and Steph ended up winning, but he came through in the clutch because it was a really tight 3-point contest, and with that, he won the 3-point contest, and then you had the dunk contest at halftime, which was interesting because you had some different people that were in it. But at the end of the day, I felt like trying to get a dunk contest in that short amount of time, it was kind of hard because the guys couldn't get enough dunks in. It really wasn't, because I felt like those guys could have, did some more dunks and it would have been a whole lot more entertaining. But I completely understand that it was at halftime and all that good stuff. And, Anthony Simmons, he ended up winning the dunk contest with a few impressive dunks. And that in a nutshell, the dunk contest was quick, short, but I could dig it because the guys, really tried to bring their best. To get to the game I really wasn't impressed by, but it's everything that I expected it to be. I figured the guys would come out, half-ass it, not really playing the defense, because they really didn't want to be there simply because, a lot of the guys were complaining they had short turnaround and, and schedule and come back playing from the bubble. But I've heard some people say, well, they shouldn't have had the All-Star game. They shouldn't have had the All-Star game. They should have just, bypassed it. But what people fail to realize is that the NBA and the NBA Players Association has a legal binding contract, and that's the CBA. It's the, collective bargaining agreement, which all of that stuff is in the collective bargaining agreement, which means that, the All-Star game is something that's in their contract. And you say don't have a game, guys. You see they showed up because at the end of the day, if they don't show up and they don't play, the owners can take that collective bargaining agreement and throw it in the trash because they're not holding up to their end of the deal. So they really had to find a way to have the All-Star game, and it was for a good cause. They did it for HBCUs, which was a good thing. You highlighted a lot of HBCUs. A lot of them got some money, all of that good stuff. And that's the thing. It was supporting a bigger cause than just entertainment. So it went to something good. The game itself, I wasn't impressed, but it's exactly what I expected it to be. I don't expect so much. The score was 170 to 150, which that's no different than a lot of these games they have now that be, high scoring, no defense, all that good stuff. It's just this one had, all the top players playing in it, and, guys really was just, hanging court and all that stuff, which it's an all-star game. It's supposed to be a pickup game. It's supposed to be entertaining. I haven't been a fan of the all-star game in a few years because I don't like the way they changed it up. You pick teams, I guess I'm a little old school. I'm East versus West, where I feel like, the East players should play against the West, but I guess they saw it with the competition was kind of down because the West was real strong at one time. But now the parity is coming back where you have, the East with with better talent in the East. So I think they should go back to the East-West, format. And then, really, that ending, they got it from the TBT, and I'm really not a fan of that. I understand they want to honor Kobe Bryant and everything, but so much can happen in a short period of time in the NBA with shot clock and all that good stuff. A 24-second clock, anything can happen in 12 minutes. So I'm really not a fan of that. What the TBT calls the Elam ending, and it's so much that can happen. The NBA put their own little wrinkle. They just go to fourth quarter, and then they have a set score, and then they go from there. And I feel like the game got out of hand in the second quarter, where Team LeBron had went up by like 20 points or whatever. So Team Durant really didn't get a chance to get back in it. But I mean, Giannis won the MVP, which I'm not surprised. I mean, he didn't miss a shot. He went 16 for 16, had 35 points. Curry had 28 points. Dame Lillard had 32. And then, you had a few guys on Team Durant that, respectively had, pretty decent games and all that good stuff. So, you have to look at like, James Harden had, Kawhi Leonard only had 8, Jason Tatum 21, Zion with 10, Kyrie Irving 24, Bradley Beal 26, and then James Harden had 21. Then you have Levine with 13 and Donovan Mitchell with 15. So, I mean, they had pretty much, scoring all around, but, that second quarter killed them. They wasn't hitting shots. It wasn't like, it wasn't like, oh, Team LeBron was playing defense. No, they just missed shots, And so, all in all, All-Star Weekend, I'm glad they put it together for some of the fans, and they did it for the HBCU. So that's the most important thing to me. It went to a worthy cause. But I wish they'd changed the format, where, they giving these guys the opportunity to put money towards, charities and stuff like that, which is all well and good. But, the All-Star game used to be, we'll give you entertainment for, 3.5 quarters, fourth quarter, and, half the fourth quarter, we want to defend because at the end of the day, we want this money. And, and I understand now players get paid more money, so that money really doesn't mean anything to them. But, All-Star Weekend, I'm glad they put it together. Chris Paul and, the Players Association, the NBA, they did a good job of putting that together. And, shout out to all the guys who, just got done playing, and then they show up and, they might not play a whole lot of minutes. Like LeBron didn't play a whole lot, which I kind of expected that too, because, I mean, he really didn't want to be there. And so for him to just show up and, that was a good thing because, you never know who's going to be in the stands and who's never saw some of these guys play. But all in all, wasn't a fan. It's just something hard for me to get used to. It was hard for me to watch, with the way they play, and it's just not my cup of tea. I watch it because I'm going to talk about it once a week, but for the most part, it was just a game of basketball where I'm gonna let you score, you let me score, and hopefully I miss, you miss, stuff like that. So it's it's entertainment. Some people like that type of entertainment. It's just not for me. All right, so we're going to stay in the NBA. The next thing we're going to talk about is Blake Griffin to the Nets. This happened today. I seen it that they were saying it was going, that they were talking about it last night. But, it was interesting to me to see that Blake Griffin went to the Nets. I wasn't big on him going to the Nets. I felt like the Nets needed someone like Andre Drummond, but they ended up getting Blake Griffin. He got bought out by Detroit. They came up with some, buyout agreement because he was owed like 32 million or 36 million this year, and then 39 million next year. Nobody was going to take that from an aging Blake Griffin who has injuries and he's just not the same player that he used to be. So, it's two ways you can look at it. You can look at it as, okay, Blake Griffin going to the Nets. They have Kevin Durant. They have Kyrie Irving. They have James Harden. And then, they have a host of other players that, can play and, and all that good stuff. And so he's not going to be the first, second, third, and probably not even the fourth option. He could be, one of those good role players that, he doesn't have a lot of pressure on him. And, the other guys just make it so easy for him when he has wide open shots. He will possibly get a dunk that is something he ain't had in a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken. But, I felt like they needed somebody like Drummond who doesn't need the ball and has proven himself to be a force on the offensive glass, the defensive glass, and that's just not something that I have seen out of Blake Griffin. Could he change that? Yes. Is it yet to be seen? Yes, we haven't seen it yet. So we're going to see how he responds to going to a team full of, dynamic players where he's not the guy. I mean, the last time that, we saw him really play, Blake Griffin was averaging about 24, 25 points a game, but the Nets don't need that. They needed a big, somebody help DeAndre Jordan. My biggest thing is with Blake is if he can go out there and just rebound, and possibly average a double-double, low 10, 12 points a game, the rest of the season, and give them 12, 13 rebounds. And just let those other guys score, because you got the Jeff Greens that, come off the bench and just do what he's supposed to do. And then, they can really play like small ball, but still be kind of big at the same time, because you have to realize with the roster that they have, you can play a James Harden, Kevin Durant, Jeff Green, Blake Griffin, and whoever else you want to put in the lineup with them. And that's a big lineup. It's just I was just real reserved on that. But it could work. It could work if he come in and just be like, hey, look, I just want to come in here and fit in and do whatever I need to do. And then I will be happy to be a part of this. But if he comes in with the mentality that he's the guy, and some people might say, oh, no, you're not going to do that. But, these professional players are different whenever it, come to egos and stuff like that. So, he signed a veteran minimum with the Nets. They use one, their veteran minimum, which, I just keep going back to it. Like, he's not going to be one of the main options. But what does Blake Griffin bring to the table? Whenever he was in with the Clippers, it was dunk after dunk after dunk after dunk, and he did nothing else. So what can he do to make this Nets team better? And all I can say is just come in and be a garbage guy. Like, come in, prove yourself, play hard, rebound the basketball, get some, offensive putbacks. But I don't know if he have it in him. So we'll see what's going to happen with Blake Griffin. Like I said, I wasn't a fan from the start. Whenever I heard that, that Detroit was, holding him out to, try to get a buyout or a trade, I wasn't a fan of the Nets saying that they wanted him. And, and who am I? I'm just, a little small guy that, just look at sports and look at games. I don't make any big decisions like that. And I could be wrong whenever it comes to it, but I just don't know what he brings that will make the Nets that much better versus them getting the Andre Drummond, cleaning that glass up, getting them extra possessions, and being a big. I think that would have helped them out a whole lot more. And, we will see what will happen. Blake Griffin hasn't really played in a while. He's been sitting out. So he should have fresh legs, but he might have to work off some of that rust. But at the same time, when you playing with three dynamic scorers with KD, James and Kyrie, I mean, it's not a whole lot that they need from you. So we'll see, what happens with that. And so I mean, I hope Blake has a good showing. I hope that he, goes in and does well. And I know he has championship aspirations, and that's one of the best teams to be a part of if you want to have a chance. You want to win a championship. So he has to go in and make the changes to his game to put them over the top and be that championship contender team. So again, we'll see what will happen there, and I wish Blake the best, and we'll see what happens with him in the Nets. So we're gonna move on, and this month is Women's History Month, and I have said that I was going to make sure that one thing was I was going to make sure that I highlighted women on the show, and I started out doing it, but this is Women's History Month, so this I'm going to pick two women that I'm just going to talk about, like in sports, that were transcenders, and they were just great at what they did. And some of the young people, they don't know nothing about some of these players. If they do their homework, they will. But the first one I'm going to highlight is going to be Sheryl Swoopes. And Sheryl Swoopes was one of the baddest female basketball players that I've seen. That not even just what I've seen, that just played the game of basketball. She went to Texas Tech, and she has 3 gold medals. She has 1 national championship, 4 WNBA championships. She was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2016. She's a 6-time All-Star, a 5-time All-NBA, WNBA. She's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time MVP, 2-time scoring champ, 2-time steals leader. And one of the most significant things about Sheryl Swoopes is this right here. We see a lot of guys that have their own shoes, the KDs, the LeBrons, that's in basketball right now. Everybody know about Jordan, but Sheryl Swoopes was the first female to have her own signature shoe. She's the first female to have her own signature shoe, and she was with Nike, signed with Nike, and Nike gave her first shoe. She had her first signature shoe, which was the Swoopes, and they were a nice looking shoe. And her game, helped that out, because, like I said, she went in scoring titles, she went in, MVP, she went in championships. She played with the Houston Comets, one of the greatest women's basketball organizations that you know of in the WNBA. Unfortunately, they're not in existence anymore, but the Houston Comets would not be the Houston Comets without Sheryl Swoopes. I mean, they had some other great players, but Sheryl Swoopes was one of, if not the best on that team. She teamed up with a few others, but first signature shoe. And the other thing about Sheryl Swoopes was she was the first to sign in the WNBA. So she was the first one to sign a contract in the WNBA. So she's the first in a lot of things, and what she did for women's basketball is still carrying on now. And because with her signing that shoe deal, it's other players that got shoe deals now, that, female players that's able to get, nice, Nike and Converse and, Adidas and Jordan contracts and all that good stuff, which, that paved the way for a lot of females now to make more money off endorsements. And, and I thought that was, one of the best things that you could say about her, like as far as all the winning and stuff. But she changed the way that people looked at females and them having shoes, because it's a lot of female basketball players out here. And if you start making women's signature shoes, I guarantee you a lot of these females will wear it, because everybody was trying to get the Swoops whenever they came out. Like all the females, that's what a lot of teams want to play in. And she was just a phenomenal basketball player. I highlighted, all the her accomplishment on the court and all that good stuff. Now she's coaching. She's an assistant coach at Texas Tech. She's just a phenomenal player, coach. She's just done great things throughout her career. And so, we just want to highlight Cheryl Swoops and say what a fantastic career and everything that she had, and all of that good stuff. And the next one is going to be Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley is she's the head women's basketball coach for the University of South Carolina now. She just recently won a national title in 2017. She was coach of the year in 2020. She's a 6-time All-Star in the WNBA. She's a 2-time ACC Player of the Year, and she's a 2-time Naismith Player of the Year in 91 and 92. And one of the most impressive things about her is this right here. Dawn Staley was in her latter days of playing, in her playing career, and she was also coaching college basketball. Now, that's really impressive to be able to play and still coach, because you're in a college, and so you have to do your recruiting and all that good stuff. Now, granted, she has assistant coaches and all that good stuff, but, in order for her to be able to do those two things at the same time, that's real impressive, to be able to go from playing to coaching, because which hat do you put on? Because college coaching is year round. Playing basketball is year round. And, for her to be able to do that, she was drafted, to the Charlotte Sting, and, she was coaching while she was playing in WA, she was coaching at Temple. And then, she finally went to South Carolina. She's really turned South Carolina into one of the women's powerhouses. Like, since she's been coaching there, their name has been in consideration for, one of the favorites to win the national championship. And, she was competing with, UConn and all that good stuff. So, Dawn Staley she had a real good WNBA career. Don't sleep on her. She was one of the better point guards in the WNBA, and feisty, all of that. And now in coaching, you can tell that she's carried that over to her basketball program, because South Carolina is a good basketball team and a good basketball program. And that's partly to do with her. And she's put her DNA, she's put her stamp on that organization. And hopefully we'll see more from Dawn Staley. I'd like to see her win some more national championships, and she continue to keep building, good teams in South Carolina. I guarantee we'll see more championships from her. And so we're going to keep moving along. I told you I wanted to highlight, just Women's History Month. And, Women's History Month, we don't give women enough credit and what they do for sports, what they do in this world, what they do for us on an everyday basis. So we need to start lifting them up, and just, giving them the credit when, their credit is due. And, like I said, like in these women's sports, we always hear people saying the women don't get paid enough, and, they want equal pay. But the only way they're going to get equal pay is we support them like we support the men. We go to the men's games, we buy their jerseys, we buy their apparel, we do all of that stuff. But the women's, we might turn to it, and catch the, end of the game, watch the entire game, buy some tickets to go to a game. I guarantee you enjoy it. And, even if you if you buy a jersey and you don't want to wear it, I mean, buy it for somebody else. It's little girls out here that want to play basketball, and they need some women to look up to. So, start supporting the women as much as we support the men. And if you get the athleticism, because if you watch women's sports, they're a whole lot more fundamentally sound. And I say that repeatedly because they really are versus the men. I guarantee if you go to a women's all-star game versus a men's all-star game, you're going to get more out of it than you would for the men, unless you just like dunking. If you don't like to see a whole bunch of people that can fundamentally shoot in between games, dribble the basketball with a little bit of defense on them and all that good stuff. Continue to watch the men, but check out the women. But check them out in all sports. It's not just basketball. It's other sports they play. We have women's tennis. Support that. Yeah, women's golf. And I'm bad for golf. Like I watch the men's because I keep up with Tiger and all that good stuff. But for the most part, I haven't watched women's golf, but I do a better job of doing that. But if we support them, I guarantee you their pay will start going up. You have the ones that get paid real good money, like in sports, like the Serenas and the Venuses and, all of them, because they're headliners. But that women's basketball, the women's team sports is something that we got to support a whole lot more, because if we don't, then we'll continue to have the same problem. We'll still be saying, oh, it's a shame what the women get paid. But they can't get paid if they're not generating the revenues. That's in anything that we do. You got to generate the revenue. So if we go and we support and we pack the house and we sell them out and all that good stuff, I guarantee their pay will continue to go up. It's true, and it's proven. So that's something that we need to take into consideration. We need to look at it, go to them, check them out, support the women. All right, and we're gonna keep moving. So we're gonna talk about the NBA rankings. The last time I talked, I had my rankings last time, and this is right before All-Star. I had the Nets, the Jazz, Suns, Bucks, and 76ers. And right before the All-Star break, we had a few games, and I still got the Nets at 1. What they've done without Kevin Durant, without their best player, has been nothing short of amazing to me. For James and Kyrie to come together and pull this team together, and all the other, guys that, just the supporting cast is, doing what they need to do to win games. So I got the Nets at 1 this week. The Suns at 2. And if I'm not mistaken, before All-Star break, if I'm not mistaken, the Suns defeated the Lakers on Tuesday night. And in LA. They were in LA. They beat the Lakers 114-104. And the Lakers are a good team. Yeah, they're missing AD. But the way I look at it is this right here. Chris Paul never gets any credit for being, an MVP candidate or just being an all-around great player, great teammate, because it seems like every team he goes to, he puts a stamp on them and they're contenders. We talk so much about LeBron, but we never talk about the Chris Paul effect. I've been harping on it for, quite some time now, because last year I felt like he should have been MVP. And right now he has the Suns, in a situation, granted, you got Booker and, all these other guys on the team, and then Monty Williams doing a great job coaching, but Chris Paul has a lot to do with it. Monty Williams is on the sideline, but you got a coach in Chris Paul that really molds guys and teach guys how to be professional, how to be great, how to just be team oriented. And you can tell that's what he's doing, this Phoenix team. And so I have Phoenix at 2, the Jazz at 3, simply because the Jazz have been playing great basketball, great team basketball, from Donovan Mitchell to Rudy Gobert to Mike Conley. They just been playing phenomenal ball. And so I have to give them credit when credit is due. So they're my number 3. The 76ers is number 4. Joel Embiid is playing at the MVP, MVP rate. He's doing, everything possible to be the MVP candidate. And then Ben Simmons is playing real good, and Doc Rivers just had these guys playing real good team fundamental basketball, and it's just good to see the Sixers team play up to their potential. We're going to see what's going to happen with them, over time. But right now, I have them at 4. Then at 5, I had the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, at one point in time, I was kind of real skeptical about the Bucks, but they started piecing it together. Giannis was playing better. Chris Middleton was playing real good, and they just started playing good, down the stretch. And so I have them at 5. And so we'll see what happens this week. They're going to come off the All-Star break, finish the second half of the season. And so we'll see if the Bucks make a run at it. And, I had a couple of honorable mentions like, the Lakers and the Clippers. They fell out of top 5 to me simply because the Lakers, if I'm not mistaken, they lost the last 5 out of 6, something like that. And it hadn't been good. They had lost them 4 games straight. Then they won one, then come back and lost to the Suns. So, we'll see what happens this week. The games start back up on either Tuesday or Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to double check real quick. The games start back up on Wednesday. And so, we got the Wizards and the Grizzlies and the Suns and the Mavericks. And then we got a host of games on Thursday, on that Thursday. So we'll see, if these guys, it looks like the Lakers are off for a little bit, so LeBron can get a little bit more rest. So I don't think he play until Friday probably. Let's see. Yeah, he don't play the Friday against the Pacers. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. So, right now that's my NBA power rankings. I have the Nets 1, Suns 2, Jazz 3, 76ers 4, and Milwaukee Bucks at 5. And so we'll see what happens this week. That could change. It could stay the same. And so we're going to move on to our next topic. The next topic was something that just happened probably about an hour ago. They said Dak Prescott finally gets a deal with the Cowboys. Him and the Cowboys finally reached an agreement. Not a big Cowboys fan, but I felt like Dak Prescott was kind of getting the short end of the stick. He went out there, played well. I felt like, without him, they really struggled, but he was the best player on their team. He was putting up the numbers and all that good stuff. And Jerry Jones paid everybody except for him. And he was the most consistent. He was the most reliable until this year whenever he broke his, foot and ankle, and I just felt like, they was kind of giving him a runaround. Yeah, at first he might have been asking for, too much, but when you look at it, that's market value what he's asking for. And so they finally reached a deal. I was afraid they was going to franchise tag him again, and I really just I'm not a fan of the franchise tag because you got a guy putting his life and career on the line to play on 1-year deals and, no security after that. And with somebody like Dak Prescott, he puts up the numbers. He has been a leader. He has been someone that has showed consistency. He has been someone that's been reliable until, like I said, this season, he didn't miss games, didn't miss practice, didn't do any of that stuff. So, they finally come up with a deal. He got a 4-year deal worth $160 million. He got $126 million guaranteed. It's 6 years, but it voids to 4 years simply because it's going to help the Dallas Cowboys with their cap in those, the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. And then he gets $75 million due in one season. And he signed a $66 million bonus, which is an NFL record. So they're going to give him all that good money up front, which I felt like they're doing right by him because the $126 million, Dak was always preaching, to his teammates, about, all the little things. And, he was talking about, he wanted his money, but he was preaching to his teammates about loyalty, and the Cowboys weren't loyal to him in this sense, and then they finally, came to terms to get that right. It was, he was all about loyalty, and he didn't realize that the same people he was talking about being loyal to wasn't loyal to him. And so right now, like I said, he signed a $66 million signing bonus. He's gonna get $75 million in one season, and then the first 3 years are going to be $42 million per year, and that's a lot of money. And now everybody's saying Dak has to produce. No, the Cowboys need to, make sure they get all the pieces around them, because their offensive line is not great like it used to be. It's not great like it used to be. He has some weapons. He had a CeeDee Lambs, and those guys got Zeke Elliott in the backfield, and so that's going to be the key. Zeke Elliott has to play well, so they can have that good run, pass action and all that good stuff. But I'm all I can say is finally, I'm glad Dak finally got a contract, because if this had been Tony Romo, I know people have heard this plenty of times, but me personally, Tony Romo wasn't as reliable as Dak. He wasn't as good a quarterback as Dak, but yet and still he got his money whenever his contract came up. I think Tony Romo may have won 2 playoff games, his entire career with the Dallas Cowboys, which is, just remarkably bad, just 2 playoff wins, just 2. But he was getting paid good money. No questions asked. Now, great commentator now, like he can call games and stuff like that and make the game look simple. But, Dak Prescott has really shown that he should have been paid. They should have got this right a long time ago. And I'm just happy that he finally got his money. And like I said, I'm not a Dallas Cowboy fan. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So I don't really do a whole lot of talking about Dallas Cowboys, because, they're an arch enemy of mine, and I think they suck. But Dak Prescott deserved his money. So I'm glad he finally got paid. Jerry Jones them came to their senses, paid the man, secure the man. You got everybody else secure. Now, you go from there, secure a few other things now. So congrats to Dak. Earn your money. And last but not least, I have my final word. And my final word is going to be about the state of NBA basketball, the state of basketball, period. This might not be a popular opinion from everybody, but I've been saying this for like 5 or 6 years now. And a lot of people may look at me funny and be like, man, what are you talking about? I told my brother this a few times. I was like, after LeBron and KD and these guys retire and done with basketball, I said the NBA is going to be full of role players, because the game has really changed. And if you don't realize, we have a lot of foreign players that play in the NBA now. And don't think that, I have a problem with foreign players. I don't have a problem with foreign players. But if you look at the foreign players, they're a whole lot more fundamentally sound than American players. They can shoot jump shots. They can make free throws. They can do all the little simple things besides dunk and just toss up a bunch of threes. But we have shown now that we're satisfied with just dunks, no defense, and jacking up a bunch of threes. Yeah, you have some great shooters like Steph Curry's and, the Klay Thompsons and, the Dame Lillards and those guys. But at the end of the day, it's either a 3 or a dunk. 3 or a dunk. Whereas we want to show off all our athletic ability and don't want to do all the other things in between. And the state of basketball now is hard for me to watch, and I love basketball. If anybody knows me, I love basketball. That's one thing that I've always done. Play basketball, love basketball. I can watch basketball. I would stay up and watch all the Western Conference games that came on at 10:30 on TNT on Tuesday and Thursday nights, especially on Thursday nights. Stay up and watch the entire game. I can't do that now because it's hard to watch guys not play defense. It's hard to watch people say that this guy had an impressive game. He had 60 points, but somebody else on the other team had 55 or 60, and they had 160 points also. Just team combined, like 160 or 155. Like, that's no defense. So that 60 points doesn't impress me at all. And until we change the mindset, quit making kids now that's growing up think that, oh, it's all about dunking. It's all about, oh, if I can rip you, I can get down court and get a dunk. No, we need to start teaching these kids fundamentals. Teach them an in-between game. Stop and pop. Make it easy for them to be able to score. The great scorers can do it all. And when I say do it all, they can shoot the three. They got the in-between game. They can get up and dunk or finish at the rim. That's what good players, that's what the great players do. Like, you're not guardable when you can do those type of things. I use this for an example. Last season, the Lakers played a little bit of defense. The Lakers played a little bit of defense in the bubble. And they played against the Houston Rockets. And they really trapped James. As soon as he crossed court, they sent a double team at him to get the ball out of his hands. And when they got the ball out of his hands, if he gave it to Russ would attack. But Russ struggled with his shooting and stuff last year. He had trouble scoring and all that good stuff. It wasn't that he couldn't score, just the ball wasn't going in the basket. But then if the ball went to any of the other players, and these guys played a little bit of defense on them, they had no clue what to do. And I was saying to myself, like, this is just sad that these guys had no clue, didn't know what if wide open. One time, one of the players was so wide open in a mid-range, he turned around and throws it back out to somebody else because he didn't know what to do with the basketball. And it was just troublesome to me to see NBA players, once a little defense came at them and nobody else was setting them up, how lost that they were. So we need to stop this narrative that this is good basketball. This is, good team basketball. No, it's not. You have a few good players now. You have some superstars here and there. Then you have some stars. And that's what this NBA has come to now. We have a tier 1, a tier 2, a tier 3, and a tier 4. And just because a guy getting paid $200-something million don't mean that he's the guy. Don't mean that he's that great. It's just the salary cap is what it is. Somebody has to get the money, so the owners can't hold on to so much, but so much of it, they have to get rid of it. So we got to stop this narrative that this is good basketball and stop making it seem like, for an example, Paul George, everybody high on Paul George. Paul George is Paul George that. But then whenever crunch time comes, playoff time comes, that Paul George that y'all been bragging about is not there. He doesn't show up. And just because he says, oh, I'm playoff P is back, everybody's supposed to be happy. Everybody's saying, oh, he doing this, he doing that. We need to stop the narrative that this is good basketball. I remember Paul George and Kawhi Leonard used to be good two-way players. Now they're one-way players. They play defense sometimes, but nothing like they used to. Nothing like they used to. So I wish that we would get our kids to get back to playing defense. So whenever they come up in high school and college and then possibly get to the pros, that this game would be a lot better. And we wouldn't have to rely on going overseas to get more players to cover up the deficiencies of our own homegrown players. And, I've coached basketball, I played basketball. And if you get on kids to play, they will play defense. It's just the some that they get on teams where coaches don't care about defense. All they care about is scoring. And that's what you hear from a lot of fans these days is that, the first thing they throw up is, this guy had 47 last night. How many steals did he have? How many rebounds did he have? How many did his opposing player that he was playing against have? And that's my issue with how we judge basketball players now. Yeah, a guy can go out and give you 47 tonight, not show up for 4, 5, 6 games, and then show up again and have 27, and then we talk about how great he is. I had one of my old players to tell me, a few years ago, when Isaiah Thomas had that great season with the Boston Celtics, he was like, "Oh, he's so great. He's just great." And I was saying to myself, and I said to him, like, what do you consider great? And he said what he's doing. I said, he's doing this for one season. That's not greatness. Greatness is over longevity, over a time period. And so until we change our mindset about what we think is great, what we think is good, what we think is, a good brand of basketball, then we're going to continue to get this. Because if you look at it, it wasn't as blatant. It's not as blatant in the season as it was last night. But if you look at the All-Star game versus a regular game, it wasn't too much difference. It wasn't. The same lack of defense that happened in the All-Star game is the same lack of defense that happened in NBA games. And until we change that, we're going to have a bad brand of basketball. And I'll say this right here. If we don't get it together, the NBA is going to be in a downward spiral. It's going to be in a downward spiral. A lot of people might say I'm crazy. They might say I'm crazy. They might say I'm tripping. But if you really look at the game and you really look at where it's going, and you can't judge it based off, how much players get paid, because that's because of TV deals. That's because, they got all that stuff in the collective bargaining agreement where they can get paid good money and not, and not have to worry about any of that stuff. But how much money they get paid. Now, that money is going to be paid simply because of TV deals. But when them ratings start going down, because like a lot of kids now are fans of players. And what player now are kids just crazy about that's coming up now, that's in year 1, 2, 3, or 4? Or maybe we might even take it to 5. And that says a lot, because I don't hear them, talking about, the only one they may talk about now is Zion and maybe Ja Morant. But other than that, what, who do they like besides LeBrons, the KDs, the Stephs, the James Harden, those guys? When those guys in their 30s right now, whenever they gone, who is the NBA going to have to carry them? And from what it's looking like, it's just going to be a league full of role players. That the ratings going to go down because it's going to be a bad brand of basketball that nobody wants to see. Take a look. And so I'll say this right here. For those who got on, thank you for checking it out. If you're not able to get on here, I will post it on the YouTube page. You can just get back on this page to check it out. YouTube page is Brother Talks 910. And we'll be back next Monday at 7:30 Central Standard Time, and we'll have another host of of things to talk about, and we will continue with our women's history coming next week. We'll have a different host of women to talk about. And so for those who check me out, I appreciate you. Until next week, y'all have a good rest of the week.